All right, Sophie Jacobs, connect. When you
Connect.
hear, yeah, when you hear that word, what comes up for you?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
oof, what comes up for me is a couple things.
Okay.
Connection is vital to being human.
Okay.
So it's like an ingredient of life that is
Mm-hmm.
life itself. Like connection is actually
I love that.
life. And I'm just something that's coming to mind for me right now is just this general malaise
Oh, yeah. Because if
in
we're
our
disconnected, right, then
yeah,
there's death.
out of this disconnection.
Yeah, man.
And I mean, even Vivek Morganti, who's like the US Surgeon General, said that loneliness is about or as worse as like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. When
Oh,
we are disconnected, when we're
yeah.
alienated, we're actually disconnecting from life itself. It's
Yeah.
like giving us even less life to live.
That is so
And
crazy. They
so,
say that with sitting at your computer all day too, which a lot of times we think we're connecting with the world
mhm,
and it's just so still so one-sided. It's incredibly sad. Yeah,
mhm.
I love
It's
that.
so sad. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's this aspect of like, what kind of connections are we fostering here? Like,
Right?
are they connections at the soul level, at the level of the heart integrated with, the rest of one's being? Because oftentimes, like, what will happen when we're online so often or we're rushed so often given the
Right?
pace of this society is that we disconnect from our body. And when we
Yeah,
disconnect from our body, we disconnect from our nature. And when we disconnect from our nature, we actually stop trusting ourselves
exactly.
and
Yeah.
stop trusting in life itself,
Yeah.
in the regenerative aspects of life, in the goodness of life sometimes as well.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those aspects in our culture today that's a big kind of problem or just
Yeah.
mm, yeah, it's just sad to see that.
Yeah, and it's so important if you want to connect with yourself is to get away from others, and yet it's the coming back, you know, is what gives us the that, like you said, gives us life. So you pull away in order to take that time to slow down and really connect with yourself and really tap into love for yourself, and then you step out again. And and it's like, what keeps your particular cup full?
Mhm.
Right, and when is it being drained? And so it's super, like, keeping an eye on energy, like what gives
Yeah,
you energy, what doesn't. It's really, really interesting how that
absolutely.
works. I love how you
Absolutely.
brought up, yeah, I love how you brought up the word trust, and we can actually, like, lose trust with ourselves when we disconnect from our body, disconnect from
Mhm.
nature. So what do you have to say there?
Mm.
Or what
When
more do you
we
have to say
Yeah, well,
there?
trust can be trust is earned, it's not given, right?
Okay.
But how do we earn our own trust
Yeah, I like
is
that.
to really reconnect to the body and then see what's going on, like
Mhm.
with a lens of curiosity. Now, I will say that, like, you know, not everyone is going to have the same relationship with their body. There's stories that
Oh
we've
yeah,
attached to our body about what's going on with our body.
right.
There's traumas that live in our body. And so we have to take care of how we're doing this exploration. Some people will
Right.
need a lot more um, outside assistance or tools than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
But there's a sense that I feel like we're moving from like the information age to what one would say like the intuition age, like the age of discernment. And as we're making that shift, I believe like the body is gonna speak to you in one way or
Yeah.
another, through pain, through
Yep.
physical sensation, through energy, through sickness. And really it's asking you to come back into itself. And
Yeah.
it's really like, even pain is asking you to come back into your body. It can be actually like a beautiful invitation
Right.
if we let ourselves kind of be open to it. And I think, again, like this aspect of connection related to awareness is
Yeah.
really important to me. Like this aspect that when we're aware and awake to what's going on in our bodies, we form a connection.
Yeah.
That connection builds trust. And that trust is what's going to help us like take this step that maybe is not easy or not followed,
Right.
but that does, like you were saying, fill our cup. Because if we can't connect to what would fill our cup, how can we take the step leading in alignment to that?
Yeah.
If we don't even know what's going on inside of ourselves, how do we know what makes us light up?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. And the number one thing with trauma is that we leave our body. And it's
Yep.
super interesting to me how that's like proved out with the process my husband and I take people through. Because, like, how can they give us a 360 view of, you know, where things are going on unless they've left their body? You know, they could watch it from that place.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
super cool that way. All right. So, nature, connecting with nature. There's a picture of you. Is that on like the cover of your book? That's
It
about to
is
be
on the
published?
cover of my book. It was such a cool story, actually, of how that picture got taken.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was house sitting over the summer this past year, and I was in Boston for a bit. And the last night that I was in Boston, I ended up meeting like spontaneously this woman who's a
Oh,
photographer, and
nice.
she's also quite spiritual. She does kind of like these mindful photography shoots, but that wasn't the
Oh, wow.
reason why I met her. I was just wanting to connect with her as a friend, and so
Yeah.
we went out to eat, and we were just talking about, you know, our lives and what we do. And when she shared that she was a photographer, I thought, well, I probably need like photography, like a photographer for my book, or like
Right.
for like headshots or something. I was just
Yeah,
thinking
there you
headshots at
go. Right.
the
Even just that. Yeah.
but I just said it offhandedly because I knew I was leaving like tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And, you know, she was like, okay, so when are we going to do this? And I
Oh,
thought,
funny.
oh, well, I was just kind of joking. I mean, like, I would love to, but I'm leaving at like 9 a.m. And she's like, well, you know, I actually do sunrise photo shoots. I go to Rockport, Massachusetts, and about an hour out of Boston, and I lead these sunrise photo shoots and lead you on a meditation right before the photo shoot.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, you have to be kidding me right now.
Like,
Like, this
yes,
is,
please.
yes, like 100%. I
Love
will
it.
like
That's insane.
rearrange my plan. So this was like 8 hours before the event. And yeah, so we both woke up at 4 a.m.
Oh,
and took a rental car out to Rockport and just
no.
had such a ball, like
That
just
is so cool.
taking photos on the beach at sunrise.
Brilliant. It's
Yeah.
just amazing photo. Like, it's almost like looking at this x-ray, because when you like look at your legs or something, it's like, what is that? Like, x-ray of her pants, you know, like, wow. Okay. I love it. All
Yeah.
right. So, fellow human beings, what do you have to say about fellow? Obviously, I just told us about fellow human beings. Just connect on that soul level, not expecting anything and going with the flow. There, done. No.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lesson in itself with that story, is that when you connect to yourself, right,
Yeah.
and develop a relationship with yourself, that's one of kind of just being curious and seeing what's going on inside and
Right.
developing that like awareness.
Yeah. And spending time in nature too, Sophie, to pull back that nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nature so assists and support us in grounding us to ourselves.
Yeah, man.
It's a wonderful medicine. And so yeah, like having that connection to oneself and connection in relationship to nature. I mean, we are nature.
We are.
All of that included, I think what starts to happen is that we might listen in a way we haven't before, right? And it all comes back to human beings, but we start to listen to ourselves maybe in a different way.
Right.
And when we start to kind of listen in on what I would call the whispers, or, you know, the however you want to call it. Some people call it clairs, so like different channels of knowing. You can be like touch or sight, or sound, or, you know, connected to the senses, or there's also just a knowing sense. We can start to kind of, if we're ready for it, kind of take small actions that are in alignment with what we're connecting with within. And when we start to do that, something interesting that happens is that we meet people who we need to meet, and that we actually, that level of connection doesn't just extend to us anymore. It extends to them. And we realize just kind of like, through these synchronicities, how interconnected we really are. So for example, the story of the photography shoot, if I hadn't have kind of gone through all of those experiences and trusted my gut and just made that connection, none of that would have happened. And so I think it's almost bridging me to alignment and connection with fellow human beings.
Right.
When we really drop down into this principle of interconnection.
Yeah. And we had that too, you know, Dr. Z introduced you to my husband, Ambassador Terry, Vettrus-Nichols, and I, and one thing led to another, and then it's like, oh yeah, you know, we found out you were coming to Asheville for a retreat. It's like, oh well, come stay here, you know, and then we got to spend, like, if we were lucky, 24 hours, right? It was a quick top, but like, you got a major tour of Asheville in that short amount of time, and you know, you had even met somebody who invited you out to tea, and you got that in there as well. So it was just an amazing visit that we had with you, and it was like we known you all our lives. You know, it was just real easy and flowy. It's very beautiful.
It was super beautiful, and like I will say, you know, even just the discernment to choose that retreat and know, oh yeah, there's something here for me. It's like you can't, sometimes you just like, intuition can just be just a compass pointer, and then you have to actually take that action step and really with clear awareness, where am I now? Where have I been led?
Right. And the example in the Bible of walking spiritually, because in the Bible they literally didn't, like, they weren't carrying lanterns. They had something figured out where they had candles on their sandals, and they literally could only see one step ahead in the darkness. So yeah, this has been so great. Sophie, is there anything you want to add real quick?
No.
Yeah, this was good. Nummy stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.